ቅዱስ 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 እግዚአብሔር ጸባኦት አምላክነ።
Greetings everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This program is brought to you by Mahibere Kidusan Broadcast Service, American Center English Service here in the Washington, D.C. studio. Today we have the great blessing to present to you an interview with Melaka Salam Qasis Paulos Massington, Senior Priest at Debre Gannat Qudus Gabriel Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church in Orange, New Jersey. We got the honor of interviewing Melaka Salam on our broadcast team's trip down to New Jersey to celebrate the consecration of the new building of Debre Gannat. What made the interview even more special was that it took place inside the hall of the church, which is named after His Eminence Abuna Yitzhak, late Archbishop of the Western Hemisphere, who was an apostle, father, and so much more to Melaka Salam and many others in the Western Hemisphere and around the world. Our interview with Melaka Salam will focus on his life, journey, and service in the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, and we will also listen to testimonies about his life from the deacons and laity of Debre Gannat who have served with him. We hope you stay tuned. Melaka Salam, thank you for agreeing to do the interview.
Okay.
Can you tell me what your childhood was like, please?
Well, first I was born 1939, August 13th.
Okay.
Yes. And I grew up as a child, but I was a special child. Yes. So I go to school and I go to theological seminary in Kingston. Okay. So I learn, about the church.
Okay.
So I was baptized 1972,
Okay.
27th of January.
Okay.
And I learned a lot. And I was asked to be on the altar when I was, after I leave school and go through teachings of the church. First I have to know about the church. So I go through teachings and I was asked to be on the altar. So I joined. I was ordained deacon.
When were you ordained a deacon?
I was ordained a deacon 1981.
1981.
Yes.
So before that, when, let's say before you joined the seminary, had you always known, ever since you were born, your family, did everyone already know about the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, or did you come to know of the church at a certain age?
I come to know the church before all of my family.
Before all of your family?
Yes.
Do you remember how old you were when you came to know about the church?
I was
Were you like a teenager or a young
I was
adult?
a teenager.
A teenager.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was about 18 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you said there was a seminary there? Was it an Orthodox seminary?
Yes, in Kingston.
In Kingston?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I go to that seminary and learn more about the church.
Yes.
Okay. And then I was baptized in the church. And after going through the teachings of the church, I was ordained a deacon.
Okay.
And after being ordained as a deacon, a church, His Eminence Abuna Yitzhak, established a church in Ocherius,
Okay.
St. Anne. And I was the deacon in charge of that church.
Okay.
And after serving the church during that time, the church needs like a priest. Okay. So I was ordained in 1982
Okay.
as a priest. Yeah. And I was in charge of that branch church, St. Mary's branch.
Okay.
And after that, His Eminence sent me to Bermuda because there was a problem in Bermuda with two priests that was there, and they left the church. So I was sent there. Okay, I went there and I stayed for a month. I came back to Jamaica. Then after I get back to Jamaica, I was called back to Bermuda. So at that time I spent 3 months. And I went back to Jamaica. And I was called to go to St. Thomas, Virgin Island, because a priest was needed there. So I went. And I stayed for a week, served the people. I went back to Jamaica. Then I was called back to Bermuda because there was no priest. So I stayed there for 3 years.
Was that the only church in Bermuda at the time?
Orthodox Church.
Okay, it was the only Orthodox church in Bermuda at the time. What was the name of the church?
Deborah Gannett.
Okay.
Deborah Gannett.
Deborah Gannett. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I stayed there for 3 years and I went back to New York.
So you came to New York after Bermuda?
Yes.
Okay. Was that was your next? Abuna Isaac asked you to go to New York after Bermuda.
Yes, he was in New York.
He was in New York, so he called you.
Yes.
Okay.
And I went back to, after I finished in Bermuda, I went to New York.
Okay.
And I was priest in charge in New York for a while.
Okay.
And I was called to go to Canada.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So I went to Canada and I stayed for 1 year.
Okay.
And I served the people and I went back to New York.
Okay.
And after I went back to New York, I was sent back to St. Thomas, Virgin Islands
Okay.
to serve there.
Okay.
I served for a while and I came back to New York. And then it goes on and on and on and on, you know, because then things get rough in New York and I stayed on still. But at that time, I was not the priest in charge when things get really rough. So I think I served the church very well because to leave and go to another country, it's not that very easy. But I promised myself that I will not disobey the bishop. He just called me and said, I wanted to go here. As a matter of fact, anywhere there is problems in the church, like priests giving problems, I was sent there. So I did my best and came back to New Jersey here, and this branch church, Kidusan Gabriel, was open. There was a dispute in New York in regards to certain things that happened in New York, so the church kind of split. Okay, and we came to New Jersey, and the rest stayed in New York. So we searched 3 priests, myself, Malaki Janet, and Kes government for Kidusan.
Nakapra.
We searched for a place to worship. And finally, we found a place in Orange. So we stayed there for a long time.
Okay.
Until this place was bought. And it takes a long time to get it to where you see it now. Yeah. So finally, we completed. And yesterday was the consecration.
The consecration, yeah.
So, as a matter of fact, I can clearly say that we do serve the church well. So,
I wanted to ask, so you were mentioning that you were sent to many different countries, right?
Yes.
Abuna Isaac would send you. So when you were being sent, did your family come with you?
no,
Or were you always...
only one time.
Okay.
When I was sent to Bermuda, like for a permanent, my wife was there with me.
Okay.
Yes. But she didn't like Bermuda, because Bermuda is kind of typical country. You know, you cannot work if you do not have a contract with somebody. And if you have a job, you cannot have two jobs in Bermuda.
Okay.
So it was difficult.
Difficult.
She didn't like it, so she came to America.
Okay.
So I still stayed on in Bermuda until another priest was available to send there. Ethiopian priest
Yes.
was sent there, and I left
Okay.
back to the United States.
Okay. So we've been mentioning His Eminence Abuna Isaac a lot throughout the interview so far, and I know that you were very close with him and that you learned a lot from him. So I just wanted to ask you, what was your relationship like with Abuna Isaac, and what did you learn from him? And
I learned a lot from him. See, because as a matter of fact, a priest have to be obedient to the Archbishop. See, so if you are not, you are in some kind of problems. But if you are obedient to the Archbishop, you will go far in the church, because he teaches me a lot of things, and I obeyed him, and I listened to him, and so I learned from him personally. So I appreciate that. And so after he passed away, well, another bishop came. They're all nice bishops. Yeah, so, but the important thing is to obey. Is better than sacrifice. If you do not obey your bishop, you have to make sacrifice. I didn't prepare to do that, so I obey my bishop. So that's why I'm here until this day.
so how long has it been since Abuna Isaac asked you to come to New York till now? How long has it been since you've been serving in the U.S.?
Well, I'm here in this country more than 25 years.
Okay. Okay, how long have you served as a priest total?
I was ordained a priest 1980.
Okay, so over 40 years.
Over 40 years.
Over 40 years.
Yes.
Okay, that's amazing. Now let's listen to the testimonies of the deacons and laity of Dabra Gannet about Malaka Salam.
I've known Malaka Salam from my birth. He was the priest that actually baptized me with Bisu Abuna Isaac. And in the capacity that I serve is as his disciple, as his student, as a diakon serving with him on the altar. We've traveled, served together, we've visited the sick, fed the poor, not only on Sunday, but throughout the week. Many things they called me to help them with, which is a great blessing just to witness their service and be able to receive a blessing with them. Yes.
When I met Malaka Salam was at my baptism.
Okay.
I was baptized about 11 years old, so my parents, I wasn't like the other deacons, probably born into the church. My parents my mom is a convert, so I met him actually at my baptism. And then going forward, like I said before, I was learning the chants and the readings and things of that sort. So as I started to do that, I got more in tune with them, and it's been like that ever since.
I actually met Malaka Salam, but I served with him. I served with him almost every Sunday. Every Sunday we served together, and also he was the one like when we were renting. He was the one on Saturday. We would go, me and him and another would go and help set up the church. So it would be an interesting experience with Malaka Salam because sometimes you get the one-on-one time with him. So on Saturdays when we set up and together, that would be a very blessed occasion.
I met Malaka Salam, Kazis Paulus, since my birth. I'm born and raised in the church, and so growing up, not only were they like priests, but because we're such a tight-knit community, they were like my uncles as well. And so they're part of my family. So it's like, when did you meet your parents? The same thing.
Malak Salam, the first time I saw him was actually at the monastery. We have been in the monastery, me and the other deacons, setting up the tent for the Qadasi since Thursday. And it was Saturday evening that he came. And I remember when he came, he had the gray beard, and he was so innocent. Like when he greets you, he's so loving. And then he just came and stood with us, and he was waiting to be told what to do. He was like serving as he was more. You can see his obedience from day one. The bishop, our father Abuna Tadios, was there, and he got his blessing, and he stood quietly on the corner. And Abuna Tadios, they invited him to do service, and that was the first time I saw him.
I met Malaka Salam 41 years ago, and when I was back home in Jamaica, and when I was a member of the faith and served with him, I was a chairman for the church until I move and come to the state. Then I meet Malachi Garnett 31 years ago. Now I'm assistant chairman, and I'm a facility manager of the church also.
I met Malaka Salam when we were in Jamaica, St. Mary of Zion Church. That's where I was baptized. And I was his first baptism. Really? Yes. For the first time, the first time he did a baptism was, he did me, right? And one of my daughters. So that's how I know Kes Paulus from Jamaica. We grew to Jamaica. We came to America. He was in Canada. He was everywhere, but he was always with us. One of the oldest members, so long. So.
Well, he's my spiritual father, and I met him probably on the entrance of the church. What capacity I stay with him. Even when I am free, I call him to just sit and pray and just have regular conversation, because it's very important to me to have a relationship with my confessor father, which he is. So I make sure that that relationship is there.
Okay, so I met Malaka Salam in 2017 when I attended my first service at Deborah Gannett Kadis Gabriel. I am one of the leaders of the youth, so I serve Malaka Salam by organizing the Youth Association. I'm the secretary of the Youth Association, and we also have what we call the SGYA, St. Gabriel's Youth Association, and we have Friday Youth Nights where we teach mezmors and spiritual topics as well as social and secular topics, and we kind of, just organize and guide the youth in that capacity under the leadership of the deacons.
I met Malaka Salam maybe like a few years before I got baptized, maybe like 1 or 2. So maybe like around maybe 2017, 2016. I also help out with the youth nights and stuff like that. Any way possible, like if he asks me to do something, I just make sure I get it done, and any way I can.
I met
Malaka Salam, probably 2015 or 2016. And I say Malaka Salam, anything around the church. I'm a youth member, and I also organize the youth. I'm a treasurer. And any way that I can lend a hand.
From Malaka Salam, the greatest lessons I've learned is how to be a servant. God has allowed him many years by the grace of God, and he continues in his service. He continues to serve the people. And so he's an example of service for me. He's an example of service for me to follow into. So just from that, I've learned that lesson, that service was his drive, and that's what continues to move him. And so by that action, I learned what service, an example of service.
How to be love, practice love, preach love. That's it. Well, he's a man of faith. He have a lot of faith, and that's what carried him through.
Resilience and long service, dedication. He would tell you every time, I'm an old person, but he's here the longest. He is old and he never left. So that just gives you the energy to go on. Sometimes I see him and I say, he's getting there, he's getting up in age. Even I is getting up in age, but then he's still here. He still serves. So that's what I take from him, how to endure to the end,
Obedience. He's told so many stories about him going from Bermuda to Canada to New York to Florida to everywhere. And at the sound of a whistle, and he had to bring his wife, and yeah, the obedience it's really great, coming into the clergyhood is a really strong office. It's serving God it can be really tough sometimes, especially when you have to go any place. So obeying.
Malaka Salam, he's going to be 82, so he still serves. And I remember one time we made a joke like, Malaka Salam voice never cracks when he serves. Like he's hitting all these like he just in the service, so he's not really thinking about my voice or he's not really thinking about that. That's one thing, and then the other thing is that he loves the church. He loves the church a lot, and he's obedient. Like the Archbishop one time asked him to go out of the country to go serve some people, and his wife wasn't well, and he said, I have to go and serve do what the Archbishop asked. So when he told me that, I was like, wow, and I was very shocked at that. So he loves the church and he's very obedient.
Obedience is better than sacrifice. I know if you witnessed the consecration, many people were saying this, but he is an example of obedience. I know he's been serving more than I've been alive as a priest, and he's still like a young priest, He does everything by himself. He's very, very eager to teach the Word of God. He's very focused on the young people of the church and making sure that they are aware of their faith, that it belongs to them, that they take responsibility of growing the church and teaching their peers. So yes, it's just, I can't really describe in a few words, but yes, everything.
From Malaka Salam, there are many. It is countless. But his obedience, everyone knows, But his sense of this apostolic mission is, I would say that sets him apart. It was a few years after we met that I asked him, about his life, And then that was when I found out that he, as soon after he was baptized into the church by our father, Abu Isaac, he was ordained deacon. And at that time, he already had family. And he was serving in Jamaica. And Abu Isaac told him to leave his family and go serve in Bermuda. And he said, I just left and I just left and went to Bermuda. I said, isn't that hard? He said, if I cannot be obedient to my father, to my bishop, how can I say that I'm obedient to Christ? And the way he says that every mission that is in the church, whether it is Qadasi or talking to congregation or helping out the priests, he sees it as a direct obedience to Christ. And because of that, now he is serving in New Jersey while his family are still in Jamaica. And he's a true apostle.
Oh, his name says it all, the peaceful spirit. Yeah, he's a very humbling, peaceful, that's just him. That's it. And I try to adopt that. And his wisdom, and he being my confessor father, I've gained some of that through him. Good example.
Okay, so one of the greatest lessons that I've learned from Malaka Salam occurred one day when we were here at our new church, still cleaning up and like doing landscaping and planting flowers. And he has this way where he just kind of ropes you in and just starts to talk to you, and you just can like forget about everything around you. And he starts to say to me that just in everything to focus on life, because in our faith, you know, we're taught we're not to fear death, and just there's any negativity in your life that makes you want to like focus on the bad, to just remember that we serve a living God, and even after, you know, we pass on from our physical form, there is life after death. So what we should really be focused on in every aspect of life is the rich life that we have through this faith, and the life that was given to us by the sacrifice that our Lord, God and Savior, Jesus Christos, made for all of us. So to just, in everything, no matter what, just keep in mind that, you know, there's always life.
The greatest lesson I learned from Malaka Salam, there's a lot of them. Because, you know, you could just be walking around, you know, he'd stop you, ask you a question. The question, you probably wouldn't even know the answer to the question, but then he'll just give you a great lesson and the answer to the question. But I'll just go, like, he said this maybe like a few hours ago, actually. He was talking about Holy Communion. He said something around the lines of, like, you can't just, like, watch and view it, you know. To experience it, you have to partake in it.
The moment I can't really remember all of them, but one that's stuck with me, because he'll come up to you and ask you a question, and it makes you just think like, oh my gosh, should I just answer this the regular way? Because there's always something meaningful behind it, and you just never know. So then he said, he's so simple, he comes up to me, he says, I think I was with my father too, he said, which one is bigger, a mansion or a house? So I'm just like, a mansion is bigger. But then he said, in the Bible it says that in my father's house there are many mansions. And just left me with that, and I'm over here just, that one always stuck with me. So that's one that I do always remember. It's actually like, yeah, that's one that I always remember.
What is your hope for the future of the church? And you can answer that in general for the Ethiopian Orthodox Church as a whole, or you can also answer specifically for Deborah Gannat. What's your future hope?
Just continue to serve the people, serve God, serve the people, be humble. First of all, you have to listen to somebody. You cannot accuse anyone and you don't know what the person done. So you listen. So that happened a lot in Bermuda. I listened to the people because in Bermuda there is a lot of problem with members. Because Bermuda is kind of a funny country. Yeah. The people are not so much in the church per se. They love the church, but they like to have their way, So you can only counsel, teach and counsel. If the person will listen, he will learn. If he listen, you learn. So it happened like that. But Bermuda is a very nice country, but it's very small. It's only 21 square miles.
Really?
Yeah. And it is in the heart of the Atlantic Ocean. So very small. But when I go to a country, the first three things I studied, people, number one, system, and government. When you know those three things, you know how to live wherever you go. So that's what I did. And I get along with the people, very well. And they respect me, and as a matter of fact, one night a brother called me. He had some problems, and he called me and he asked me, "Kasparos, can I come and talk to you?" I said, "Sure." And he came like 10 o'clock in the night. And when he leave my apartment, it was like 4 in the morning. You see, because when someone has a problem, you have to know the laws and the order of the church just to correct that person. You cannot don't know. So it is best to know. He that knoweth is wise, he that understand will learn, and he that overcometh is strong. So that's how I live. Yeah, that's my life. The church is my life. Yeah. Because I know so much things in my young days. Yeah. Because if you do not know about a thing, you don't know what to do with that thing. So I know about the church, so I obey and humble myself. And God give me the strength and the courage and His will that I continue on and on and on. The church is my home, my life. The church is everything to me. That's where I live.
Okay.
For Malaka Salam, for me, because I knew him my whole life, I think challenges for him, I think comes just natural challenges as you get a little bit older in life. But by the grace of God, he's able to overcome whatever challenges may come that goes with your age. And so I know that's the Holy Spirit working within him. I know that's from his years of service in the church. Even I remember like growing up, I would watch him on the altar, and at certain times he would not even use the Qadasiyah book, just like a priest who serves regularly, by memory doing everything without looking at the book. And so I remember, like I saw a video of that recently, and I was like, wow, man. So then you see as he gets older, he's not as able to do that, as he gets older, that challenge right there. But by the grace of God, he's still able to perform services.
Challenges is when he used to have to serve other places, and but he's always missing home, so he went through a lot of struggles. But as I said, he always overcome them. So he's dedicated to what he do. He will get up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and he will come. So he's very dedicated to his work, and God bless him. He's a father of peace. His name is not just he's really a father of peace. He speaks to you in a peaceful way. He's not arrogant, so puffed up. He's humble. So humility has a lot to do with his behavior. And so
a prayer life is what I witnessed through Malaka Salam. Being very prayerful daily, being obedient and humble. He told me that the weapon that our Lord used was humility. And so he's an example of humility. To give a story for Malaka Salam, knowing that he came to actually help us establish the church. He was sent from Jamaica. He traveled all over the world before that. He was in Canada, Bermuda, all the Virgin Island areas, St. Thomas. Bitsuwa Bunisa kind of would send him to establish churches. And then when he came to us, he stayed with us. And he brought his family to dwell with us. And he became our spiritual father from that point. But he had to leave his children. His wife had to come a few years later. And you would not even see him really worry. You would not see him worry. He would just pray, trust in God, be obedient to the Archbishop, and be there for the faithful. So I saw the challenge of his personal life being sacrificed, but through his spiritual life, he overcame it, yes.
God sent him us, and we're thankful to have him. And without him, there would be no Deborah Gannett.
This building is one of the biggest overcoming struggle, 20-something years they've been in the wilderness, jumping from rental church to rental church, and they've persevered. It's very easy to give up. It's very easy to walk away from something, especially when there's lows, and they have high moments. People are always around for the high moments, but never through the low moments, and they've stuck through all of them. So seeing them, go from where I met them to where we are presently is really inspiring.
Well, some of the challenges that he faces now as he gets older, I see him, overcome it by, he has everything prepared, and he takes care of himself. He makes sure that he gets up early, eats properly, so that he can be ready for church.
When it comes to all the struggles and temptations, of course, they are a part of the journey from what I have seen. But one thing that he always says is that God knows, His faith in God is too stronger than any problem or any tribulation that comes upon him. His faith in the mission, in the work of priesthood, is much more stronger than anything that came upon him. That's what I have witnessed. Recently, I heard that he lost someone very close, and at his age, being here, he's away here and his family are back home, and losing a child is something, there's nothing that can be compared to that. And when he was asked if he would go for the funeral, he said, but what about Qudus Gabriel? So he stayed, I remember when I heard this story, he stayed here and he didn't even attend his own family funeral because of his faith in the mission, because of his faith in God, and having this faith in God, believing God this much is amazing.
I would say is the church. This is the witness, because it hasn't been an easy road to get to this point, because even in between the church, there's always the personal conflicts, members, disagreements in church, people who have things to say and not say, bad things that were said, and I'm being honest because I'm on the street among my brothers and I can be honest and say I've heard it, and they've heard it too, but they've never backed down. That's never discouraged them. And we're here at that point, reaping the benefits of them keeping on and him keeping on. So that's the witness.
Okay, so I've witnessed Malaka Salam overcome the various struggles in his life. I can't speak to any specific examples, but I can say that in everything that he's faced, he has just been very true to his name. Like, he is literally the captain of peace. Like, he is, I feel like, the manifestation of like humility, you know what I mean? Like, he's always very humble. He is very like gentle, and he's just a peaceful person, Just like one glance at him sometimes, I just get elated. Like, I'm so happy whenever I see him after service, before service, and he just has that way with people. He is just all about peace.
Sometimes I've seen him overcome. Being a priest comes with very much trials and tribulations. You know, he walks that, embraces that on his back. You know, you'll never tell. You know, he always walks around humble, nice, has a smile on his face when he looks at you. You know, just overall great guy.
Witness it myself, but he is a true servant of God. And you know, while we was going through our trials in other locations of setting up for service and things like that, sometimes there won't be as many hands to help set up. And I've heard he carried the altar with one hand and placed it where it needed to be. And for someone of his age to carry an altar with one hand, that's the story I heard. But yeah, he's remarkable.
What advice do you have for people who are interested in joining the church, but either, let's say, they are just starting, or they are in the church but they are having some challenges while trying to join the church?
Counseling.
Okay.
You have to counsel that person.
Mm-hmm.
Teach and counsel. And if the person obey, he will be a member of the church.
Mm-hmm.
If he does not obey, it is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Because obey is better than sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
The first principle of wisdom is self-control.
Mm.
If you cannot control yourself, you will go astray. And the power of love is sacrifice. You have to sacrifice yourself. Because if somebody have a problem and the person asks for your help, you have to do that. You cannot disobey and say, well, I can't bother with you. It doesn't make sense. So you have to, as Christ humbled himself, you know, and he humbled himself and they crucified him. See? So if you don't humble yourself, you cannot walk with God.
Mm-hmm.
You have to humble yourself to walk with God. Mm-hmm. For God does not like the proud and scornful. Mm. So you have to humble yourself and walk with God and serve God in spirit and in truth, and, you know, beyond. Because when you calculate my years, how many years you get?
No idea.
Eh?
Have no idea.
I will be 82 in 3 weeks.
Okay.
Some people say, you don't look that old.
Yeah. No.
But you see, when you don't worry, because God is always there for you. God is my strength, my rock, my refuge, my all in all. There's nobody else can I call upon but God. Mm-hmm. And it might take some time, but He will answer you, and He will protect you, and will help you. Mm-hmm. So God is my strength, my refuge, and my hope. That's why I live. I serve God and live. See, and God give me the strength and the courage and His will. Like 3 days in a row here. I carried Tabot Friday, Saturday, and today. Mm-hmm. I went to the other church, Israeli, Gabriel. Okay. The priest told me, he said, at Israeli, your job is to carry the tablet. So I love this church. You know, before I came into this church, I was about 15 years old, or maybe a little younger. I had a dream. I dreamt that I stand in front of a rock, and the rock open and take me in, never open again. And I kept that dream, and I wondered and pondered about this dream. I didn't tell anybody about it. But when the church came to Jamaica, and I was selected, I said, this is the rock. Yes, this is the rock. So God showed me from the time when He wants me to keep His commandments and obey Him, He showed me that the rock that is open is the church. So I'm in the church from that time until this time. And I will ever be here until, who knows? You know, a bishop told me, Abba Marcos, he said, you're going to live to 110 years old. You see, my father lived to 105. Yeah. My mother lived to 95. So I know I'm going to live very long. You see, because obey is better than sacrifice.
It is. And we hope to have you with us for as long as God will give you to us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for doing this interview, Malaka Salah. And may your prayers never leave us. Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you. We hope you have gained as many blessings, if not more, as we did, by listening to the life and virtues of Malaka Salam Qasis Paulus. If the Lord wills, and we shall live, we hope to see you at another program.